Hey guys, it is Tanya and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over landscaping in The Sims 4. If this interests you, make sure to stick around to the end so you can see all of the tips that I'm going to share with you guys today. And of course, if you'd like to see some more tutorials, make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Let's get into it. There is a lot to go over, so hopefully I don't miss anything. But the first thing I'm going to do just to make it a little bit easier for you guys is I'm going to go on up into our game options and down to accessibility and adjust our UI scaling. That's going to make all of our options around the screen quite a bit bigger, so that way you guys can follow along with what I'm doing just a little bit easier. This is much bigger than I typically have them, so it looks so massive to me right now, but I figured it would be a little bit easier to follow. Before anything, let's go through the tools that you have at your disposal. At the top of the screen here, you can see a bunch of different options, and if you hover over each one, it also tells you the hotkey you can press on your keyboard in order to pull that tool up right away. So we're on select, which is just how you select items on the screen. So if we had this roof down here and we're on select, we can go ahead and grab it and we have additional options on there. So we can copy the roof and place it back down. We can go ahead and rotate it to the left, rotate it to the right, or use this to pick it up and move it around and place it back down. Next up, we have the eyedropper tool. This allows you to click on anything with it and duplicate it. And for right now, we're duplicating a texture on the roof. So if I go ahead and click on this that it's different, I can eyedrop it over onto that roof. I'm just going to place a random item out of the catalog here so we can demonstrate the next tool, which is the design tool, which you can press by clicking up here, or you can press R on your keyboard. Then if you click on the object you have placed, you can filter through the various color options so you can pick the swatch that you like the best. You can also switch through the swatches of an item on your keyboard before you place it by pressing the plus and minus key on the number pad on the side of your keyboard. We also have the sledgehammer tool, which you can get to by pressing K on your keyboard, and that's exactly what it sounds like. You can destroy things, get rid of them, but if you decided you were not wanting to do that, you can do undo, which is also Control Z on your keyboard. That works in many programs, not just The Sims 4. And then there's the Save to Library button up here. This is how you can save things to your personal library on your computer or over to the gallery by clicking this little button called Share Lot on Gallery. We also have this button, which is the Move Lot and House. If you click that, you can either move the house or move the lot. We don't have a house right now on this lot, so I'm just going to click Lot. And from here, you can either click the Rotate buttons or the Move Objects button, and you can just move it over here. And you're like, actually, I'd like the whole lot to be positioned like that. So it's going to just move based on what you'd like. Or you could just bulldoze the whole lot. You can either bulldoze everything or just the house or the terrain. There's no terrain here, so I'm just going to bulldoze the lot. It's asking if I'm sure, and I say yes. And lastly, up here, we do have this little button that adjusts the time of day. Currently, it's on afternoon, and if you just keep pressing it, it will change which part of day it is, and you can also press L on your keyboard to change that as well. So we're going to start with the basics. Landscaping. I feel like the first thing I think of when I think of landscaping is the plants, which you're going to get to by this outdoor plants section down here. In here you have trees, shrubs, flowers, and rocks, or you can select them all at the bottom to kind of scroll through anything, and you can just kind of pick out what you want and place them down. We'll get into a little bit more precise placing a little bit later. I just want to go over all of the basic categories first. Next up, we have the terrain tools. Here we have a variety of options, including a bunch of terrain paints that you can use to enhance your builds. You can just click and then click and drag to draw out whatever you are looking to add to a build. Of course, if you mess up, we do have the eraser tool to erase any mistakes or lighten things up. And then finally, we have terrain manipulation. This is where things get complicated. There is a whole bunch you can do here, but essentially you can raise, lower, and smooth out terrain to get your desired effect. You also have these options to flatten the terrain to specific points by raising and lowering a little box in the middle, or flattening it to a previous height, or just flatten the lot altogether. Another useful thing with landscaping is adding pools or fountains. So you can add a pool by just clicking and dragging once you've selected the pool down here. We also have fountains in this other category right there, and you can do the same thing here, except it is much shallower and your Sims cannot swim in it. There are additional tools in each of these for custom fountains and then various shapes, so you can just place down that and voila, you have that shaped fountain. But if you wanted to do a custom one, which I think is a great way to add some more natural bodies of water, you can just kind of click and mess around with what you'd like and make really funky shaped stuff. So voila, we have this interesting shaped fountain. I think a really good way to make these look realistic is place rocks and stuff around them, which we're in this tree category under rocks. We have a variety of different rock options. Now that you have these pools and fountains laid down, you can customize them more. In the pool or the fountain category, you have a couple of other options of pool trim, water styles, and water objects, and similar things for fountains. You have fountain trims, water emitters, and fountain decorations. So it doesn't really matter which one you select because you can kind of use them all on any of them, but we are in the fountain category now. So I'm going to go ahead and click of trim, and if you place it on here, you can get various trims on your fountains, which is kind of cool. Get some variety on them and make them your own. In water emitters, that's exactly what it sounds like. We are in build mode right now, so you're not really going to be able to see too much. A couple of these you can see sometimes, but basically it's just going to shoot water out of these, and you can place them around in the water to get the desired effect you'd like. So it's a flowing fountain. Then if we go down to fountain decorations, there's all kinds of stuff in here, from algae to little lily pads, lights, other kinds of fountains of sorts you can place in here, little floating slabs. Like, there's so many objects you can place down from here, or just standalone items you can use in your landscaping as well that don't have to be in their own fountain. It's a fountain on its own, so that's definitely an option. Then if we go into pool water, you can actually go down here to pool water styles, and you have all of these different colors for water you can use depending on which packs you have installed. So you can see a lot of these came with Get Together. These can be used in pools or fountains, so if you decide you want this pool to be full with petals, you can do that, or have really crisp water, or like pinkish bloody water. It's an option. There's so many different things you can do, but I think with base game you only have this one and the red one. So that's really cool. And then if you go down into the water objects for pools, you get more things. Some of these are repeated from the fountain tool options, but there are some additional things as well, like ladders for your pool with base game. There's some additional ones depending on the packs you have, and even floaties that came with Island Living. One last category you have at your disposal before you enter any cheats is your wall sculptures right under the window here. Here you have all kinds of ivy and stuff you can place on your walls, and little planter boxes. There's a bunch of cool items in here. Some of them aren't really landscaping, they're more decorative purposes, but there are a lot of cool plant options in here that you should definitely take use of. So let's do some landscaping. I'm going to start by just drawing down a box so we have something to landscape around, and I will show you some other tips and tricks. It's very good when you're landscaping to get items closer together, some bushes closer together to make it look more natural. And one thing you're going to definitely want to use in order to do that is the cheat bb.move objects. So you're going to want to open your cheat panel by clicking Control-Shift-C and typing in bb.move objects on. I believe move objects without the on at the end also works. Because you did that, you're now going to be able to place items inside of each other. They're not going to interlock. It's not going to turn red and not let you place them. You can place them wherever you want, and they can be halfway in the building if you'd really want. Not really sure why you'd want that, but it is a possibility now. Another cool thing once you have move objects on is you can resize the items. They can be bigger or smaller than you originally planned. You can do that by using the open and close bracket keys on your keyboard. So the closed one makes items bigger and the open one makes them smaller. So you can really mess around with your landscaping options. This works for all items in the game, but landscaping is definitely an area I use it a lot. Another cool thing to know is that if you want to place things closer together, say you want a bunch of these bushes, you can also place them consecutively and not have to click it and then go grab it again and place it again. If you hold down Shift while you're placing, it'll automatically repopulate with another one as you're placing. And on that same note, if you also hold down Alt, you can place it off the grid. So without holding down Alt, it's snapping to a grid, which you can't really see right now because I'm on the wrong floor, but it's snapping to the grid. But if you hold down Alt, you can place it wherever you want. So if you combine that with Shift, you can just kind of place stuff like this. I'm just rotating my mouse as I place them down, And it helps with like doing some really quick landscaping and placing things wherever you want them. I really like using these vines in our wall sculptures category to go up walls. I think they look really nice. And you just kind of want to use the same technique I just showed you with the plants to make these look more natural. So the Shift and the Alt to make them place again, but also place smoothly and not snap to the grid. And combining a couple of different of these always looks nice as well. I definitely prioritize the green plants over other colors, but I'll occasionally add a little bit of color like this little lavender plant here and just try and mix it in nicely so there's not too much color. But what if you have a foundation? If you've ever tried to landscape when you have a foundation, you might have come across this issue where you're trying to place something and it just ends up floating midair because it's snapping to the height of the foundation. It's infuriating, I understand. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to lower down your foundation so that it doesn't exist anymore. And then you're going to want to landscape how you see fit. Just add a couple of things. I don't think this looks super good, but I'm just placing some items down for the purpose of this tutorial. And then if you raise up your foundation afterwards, your plants will stay where they're supposed to be, but you'll still have the foundation on the building, which is super helpful because I know those plants jumping up is really frustrating. Before I get into showing you some of the additional items you can unlock with cheats to enhance your landscaping, I want to go over some of my personal preferences, which I know I've been asked about a lot. No symmetry. No symmetry. Did I mention no symmetry? I really dislike what it looks like to have symmetrical things. I'm not even a fan that this build is symmetrical. This is like a 2-second build, but placing those plants symmetrically, no, I'm very much not liking that. I'd probably add like a tree over on this side like that. Maybe offset it with a larger tree over back here somewhere. Maybe have a collection of plants over on the other side. I just wouldn't put the same thing on both sides. It could even be a bush or something. This isn't going to look great because it's a very small, not well planned out house, but you probably don't want to have it overly symmetrical. It's not going to look natural unless you're going for a very groomed, like modern house. But if you want natural landscaping, your best bet is probably going to be to not have it look symmetrical. It's also a good idea to put down all of your terrain paint first. So that gets into like just how I draw out my pathways and stuff like that. I definitely prefer to have my houses a little bit further away because I like to do twisty paths like leading to the house. So what I do is I just kind of go like this and go wee, and voila, we have a pathway leading to the house. And I would also probably draw out some terrain paint where I'm thinking I might put some plants. You can also scale up and down the size of these paintbrushes using the open and close bracket keys on your keyboard. So I'm just going to draw out where I think I might use some plants over here, color that in, and then I'll place plants accordingly in that spot. And I'll probably just put a little bit under where this tree is because I don't think I'm going to put anything there. But it's good to make it look realistic to have a little bit of dirt under your tree. And it's off placing a little bit. So I'm just going to move that over slightly so it makes a little bit more sense. And I know this is not a cute house. I'm just kind of showing you how I tend to place things. Another useful category to use in your landscaping is if you go into your categories and go to outdoors, you can go to sculptures for outdoors. And there's so many cool things in here that you can use, from like umbrellas to Halloween decorations. We also have like our grills, benches, planters, like everything you could ask for is in here. You have like Patchy the Scarecrow. There's so many cool things in here. You want to have some laundry. It all depends on what packs you have, of course, but these are all very useful landscaping items as well. And back to terrain paint, I think it's nice to put a little bit of terrain paint under certain items that it would make sense that the grass is a little bit dirtier. So it looks a little bit more realistic that swing set is actually here because there's dirt under it. It looks like it's actually been here for a little while. So we've gone through a lot of decorative plants, but if you have a gardening sim and you want them to make a living off of all of that, but you don't want to have to find all the seeds and get it all started in game, you have an option to go ahead and just get those things. So what you're going to want to do is go ahead and open the Sims 4 gallery right on up here. And if you go to gallery item name, type in plants and make sure that you have room selected, you can see a lot of people upload fully grown plants to the gallery, which is so helpful. So I'm just going to select these herbalist plants here, and we're going to place down to this room. And voila, look at all these plants we have. They're already in planters if you'd like them. Some people upload them not in planters. There's definitely a lot of options, and all of a sudden we have perfect toxic huckleberries. So that's a good thing to have. We also have some morel plants and some poison fire leaves. So these are definitely a lot of dangerous plants, but that's a really cool thing you can do. Anything you want, you can find it on the gallery. So if you want to start a garden, you can do that directly from build mode. Now time for the good stuff. You've probably seen myself and a few other builders out there placing items that you don't typically see in the catalog. I often get questions about how I got cars in front of my Sims houses and stuff like that. It's because these are in a hidden category. You can access a variety of objects that your Sims use, like the forks they pick up and the bowls they mix in and all that kind of stuff, and also the cars driving by on the roads in the debug catalog. I will show you how to get to that in a moment, but there is also another catalog that is connected to that one, which is the live edit objects. And those are the things in the world around you. So for example, if in this world there's this magical tree over here, I believe this one's available in debug, but in show live edit objects, you can also grab these crates over here. They are all unlocked items that are hidden away without cheats, but you can access them now, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So once again, we're going to want to open our cheat menu by clicking Control-Shift-C, and then to access debug, you're going to want to type in bb.showHiddenObjects. Sweet. You've done it. The items aren't just going to appear. You're going to have to search for them. So what you're going to want to do is go down to the search bar here and type in debug. You'll see a bunch of these pop up with stars next to them. You're going to want to click on any of them. Now you're in here and you can see you already have a ton of extra options. Some of these are not so exciting, but other ones are, because this is a landscaping item. This is an aloe vera plant and it costs 0 simoleons. That's one of the best things about debug is you're getting a ton of landscaping items that cost nothing. So you can make your starter homes look so much better. We even have fishing ponds you can place down from this mode, cranes, magic bean trees, temple gates covered in vines, skeletons, jungle bathrooms, this thing, and honestly just so many more things that could really enhance your builds, whether that's for your landscaping or other projects. But wait, there's more! Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that. But anyway, there's also another cheat, which you need debug to be enabled to use, but luckily we already enabled that. So you're going to want to reopen your cheat menu, Control-Shift-C, and this time you're going to type in bb.showLiveEditObjects. You're going to click enter again. As long as you're still in debug, this should have added a ton of new items. And if you have all of the packs, you got over 1,000 new items from entering that sheet. So if we scroll through here, you're all of a sudden going to see a lot more things, like decorative staircases, street signs, so many new plants, cars, broken fences, tipped over cars, this thing, beautiful ivy, giant rocks, and honestly, so much more. This just keeps going. There's so many cool items in here. It really ups your game for landscaping, so I would highly suggest grabbing things out of this category. The one thing I will mention though is you can't use the shift option with things out of debug or show live edit objects. You have to individually go and place a bunch of these. I don't know why you would not want all of these giant boulders, but if you did want a bunch of them, you're going to have to individually place them, which is kind of frustrating. You also cannot eyedrop things from this category. Nothing here can be cloned, so you have to individually find each item every single time. So if you think you're going to want multiples of this car when you grab it, you should probably place a few on your lot first so you don't have to go find it again later. Lastly, I'm just going to show off a couple other tips and tricks and some of my favorite items for landscaping. So there are these two items in the middle of the debug catalog. They are both in base game and I have no idea what they actually are supposed to be. They're just kind of these weird squares that are kind of weird shaped. I'm not really sure what they are, but they work really nice for making planters. And what I mean by that is if you grab these and you use the keys I mentioned earlier to go ahead and rotate and place them inside each other, you can use a bunch of these and make round flower beds. I know a lot of other simmers use this as well. It also works with rocks, but this is really nice to get that really pretty rounded effect. But it is rather time consuming because you have to place them individually because they are from the debug menu. You can kind of see what I'm going for here. It's slightly rounded. You can make them as big or small as you want and frame in some flowers and bushes like that. And it just really adds a nice touch to the outside of your houses. When you're in debug, you can actually filter by different packs in here as long as you search debug the way I showed you. And I really like a lot of the plants that come with Show Live Edit objects that come from Get Together. So I like to categorize it by Get Together and go through here. I love this bush. This is such a pretty bush or tree. I guess it's a tree, but it's very bush-like. I love it. It's so pretty. I feel like it's just very messy and I feel like it works really well. And on that same note, I would like to share my favorite tree to use that's not from debug. This should come as no surprise because I overuse this tree in almost every house, but I sometimes will use this one instead or a similar one out of the Show Live Edit Objects menu. When I have a house and it has a bump out like this, I love grabbing a tree like this and just plopping it in the corner. I feel like it looks so cute there. It's my favorite place to place them. I just thought I'd share it because I love placing this tree in this orientation. If there is a little nook on my house, this tree is going there 9 times out of 10. Another really good plant to use is this low-lying pale yellow flowers. They are so helpful because they're mostly green and they just make everything look a little bit more realistic. You can kind of fill things up a little bit better and they take up a lot of space. You can also scale them up and they just look really nice. I would highly advise using a lot of these. I just think they look really nice. They're one of the best plants in the game, I think, and they are base game, so that's very helpful. Debug also unlocked a few different plants that came with Strangerville originally, so there's some really pretty cacti and such in here that you might want to use if you're building in another environment. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover about landscaping. Of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave those down below and I will do my best to answer as many questions as possible. Right now I'm just showing off a couple more cool items that are in Show Live Edit Objects. This is definitely a really cool catalog you should definitely check out. So I hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and you enjoyed this. And you can also click that bell to turn on notifications so you'll be notified of every single time I upload a new video. Thank you guys so very, very much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.